Welcome everybody to another episode of An Anatomy of the Arts. I'm your host Ethan Everyone. Today we have a guest that completes a first for the podcast. Well, quite a few firsts. We've got our first cellist, our first podcast host, and our first classically trained musician is Sarah Joy. How are you, Sarah?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. We were just talking. Actually, we have tried to do this so many times, and there's every single time there's been like just a minute thing, and then it's been postponed. But it's very nice to sit down with you today.
Yes, I'm glad this is finally happening.
So am I. So like at the beginning of the podcast, I kind of like to go all the way to the beginning of music. So I know you play the cello. I can see it in the background on display.
Yeah.
Beautiful. How did you come across it?
So when I was 3, my parents gave me this tiny little violin, and then when I was 5, I don't know what made them decide that I should do cello instead of violin, but that was when they gave me my first little cello.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think I'm not exactly sure why they chose it for me. They didn't really give me a good reason. I'm glad they did. But my my grandmother, my dad's mom, was my first teacher, and she taught me all the way till I was 15. And she went to the Eastman School of Music for clarinet. But while she was there, she took cello lessons with oh my gosh, I don't want to get the name wrong, so I'm not going to say the name. But he's a famous, important cellist.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, so yeah.
I mean, it's quite a niche instrument, and actually I was talking to my sister about it today because she plays cello as well.
Yeah, I remember hearing that.
Yeah.
Podcast,
she's like, I don't understand where my parents. I think she chose it, but with her, she played cello, and then it kind of like fizzled out a bit. So when you were playing cello at a young age, because it's the same with my guitar, I kind of stopped at like, I don't know, 11. I kind of got lost in the whole music thing. Has music been something you've continued throughout, or is there points where you stopped?
So I actually threw a fit whenever I was about 13, 14. I don't want to practice anymore. Because I think that was the age that I started doing like competition stuff for all region or whatever. And so I think part of it was just I didn't want the pressure.
Yeah.
But music itself, I was always just completely in love with. So whenever I was 10, do you know what cakewalk is? Have you ever heard of that? No? Okay,
No.
back in the day, it was this old recording program.
Yeah.
And I had this cheap little mic, and I just thought it was super cool that I could record my musical ideas. So
yeah,
when I was really young, that's and I think that kind of kept me going through like the rebellious phase. But yeah.
That rebellious phase hits everyone. Like it's crazy. Like I'd happily play guitar, but it's the lessons. The lessons killed it for me. I was like, no.
I know. Well, so okay. I mean, you probably don't want to like say anything negative about a past teacher, but did it have anything to do with the teacher?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it was funny because I don't know if you do grades over in America. I'm sure do you do grades?
Like music grades?
Yeah, music grades.
We do. Well, I did the Suzuki method, so it was like Suzuki book 1, book 2, and that's kind of how we like.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, we literally do like grade 1, grade 2, and then it's like up to 9, I think. But that was like the whole point of doing the guitar lessons. Get to grade 1, and then you get to grade 2, and then it was like a rite of passage, I guess. But okay. I don't think I showed as much interest in it. So I got stuck on Seven Nation Army, Smoke on the Water, and What a Wonderful World. So I was doing that constantly. And in the school concerts that we used to hold, there'd be one at every term. The end of it, there'd be like a massive music concert. All the kids that had like lessons would, do a song. And I would always be playing like Seven Nation Army. I think I did like the Thorpe Park theme at some point, which Thorpe Park's like an amusement park in England. But yeah, my teacher was I don't think you could actually hear me in the music concerts. I think it was mostly him playing. But the other month, I was around my mate's house, and his older brother plays the guitar, and he was like, "Yeah, we were going to his first gig." I'm like, oh yeah, his guitar teacher's coming. I was like, oh, cool, cool. In walks my old guitar teacher, and I'm like, oh, oh god,
Awkward.
hi, and he was like, hi, and he didn't recognize me, and it was just all built up, and I was like, oh, okay.
That's funny. Okay,
Clearly,
so you feel like you got stuck in the repertoire and that kind of like
oh
killed any
yeah,
motivation?
yeah. There was
Yeah.
definitely some favorites going on, and I was like,
Okay.
I was just like an easy paycheck, I guess. Just
Oh no. Oh no. That's terrible. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's interesting. So, that's actually something that I've learned as a, because I have a little cello studio, or I did, not right now because,
yeah.
I have a baby to take care of. But yeah, so this is one of the things that I learned from my teacher, my grandmother, is that she was, I would say, a perfectionist, as am I, but she always knew like when to draw the line. So we would have these
Mm,
recitals. I think they were twice a year. And I was like, okay, this is your deadline. You're going to get the piece as good as you can get it. Send it, do your very, very best. And
yeah.
then after that, it's like, okay, we're done with that. We're not going to revisit. We're just going to keep pushing forward. So that
Yeah.
helps for sure.
Maybe I should set up a Zoom call with you and him, and just to give him some pointers on
Oh
how.
no.
I'm
Oh
kidding.
no.
I'm
No, no.
kidding.
I did not mean to compare.
I'm
I'm
joking.
by no means world's best
No,
teacher.
that does sound way better than what I had. So I think maybe I'll take that method up now. But it was
Yeah.
just, yeah, it was so much fun. I enjoyed it all. But I mean, you've mentioned like you have mentioned that your family were supportive of your music. Were they instrumentalists? Were they musicians?
Yeah, so my dad actually went to Juilliard for
Oh,
his
really?
yeah, he went to, I guess, the pre-college program that they had when he
Mm.
was 15, and then he got his undergrad degree, and then he went to Eastman School of Music for his master's. My mom went to U of M for viola performance. My grandfather, he used to tour with a big band whenever
Oh, wow.
he was little. Oh my God, some of the stories that he has from being on the road, because he was like 14, 15, and he played in some interesting places that a 15-year-old
Really?
should not have
Yeah.
been in. But
Wow.
yeah, and then he went on to become a conductor. He conducted in Hawaii. He like traveled all over the place. So yeah, very musical family.
Oh, wow.
So,
Wow. Was
a
that?
lot of pressure.
I just had my sister's cello to compare myself with, and I heard some of her live
Okay.
recordings, and she was great. No, I'm kidding, Emily.
Was she supportive of you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She'd be downstairs doing a cello lesson or playing cello, and there would be a couple times where my mum would be like, "Oh, play a song together," and I was like there going ding, 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 and my sister's going. And I was like, oh, it sounds great, Emily. Yes. Start a band.
Yeah, man. You could
No,
probably still do it, honestly.
yeah. Oh God. I actually, yeah, maybe I like a sister special on Instagram where we do a
Yeah.
cello guitar. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. People would love that.
I think they just laugh at us, to be honest. But when you were like younger and you were doing a cello, were you interested in the classical music, or was there the classic like pop kind of thing that you were following as well?
Um, I was not taught to play any kind of pop songs. My grandmother, I mean, she's old school,
Yeah,
really, really strict. So it was purely classical. And then I went to university for cello performance when I was 16.
yeah.
And then, of course, that was strictly classical. But I don't know how much to say because I don't want to like present myself as being disingenuous online. I guess like a lot of the pop a lot of the pop covers that I've done, to
Yeah.
be honest with you, um, was basically just to like start getting my name out there because
Oh, that's fine.
that's what people
That's
search,
what
you
you
know?
do. No, that's what yeah, you don't have to enjoy the songs.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot, but it's not like
Yeah.
my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
When you were doing the classical music, was there any composers that you were most intrigued by that you listened to constantly?
I mean, my favorites, French Impressionists. So, I mean, really, just that whole time period. Ravel, Satie, Fauré. obviously Debussy, Chopin, whatever,
Yeah,
obviously,
Claire de
right?
Lune, I am a
Yeah, I
favorite.
mean,
Yeah,
come on, who doesn't like that music?
exactly.
And then I really appreciate the more, the music that came after. So Bartok,
Yeah.
Schoenberg, the more experimental. I kind of got lost at, oh my God, I can't even remember his name because I just don't like his music. Not Berlioz. Oh my God, I can't remember this man's name. Whatever. Anyways.
So you would play cello. At what point did you start singing?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I've always been singing.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Were
but
you
I've
taking
never.
lessons with that as well?
No, I only had, I think, 2 lessons for vocal training, and I didn't get into it, and I didn't want to change my sound, which I know that's a horrible.
Wow.
Like, okay, if any younger person out there is listening to this and they want to become a vocalist, like, don't follow my example. Take lessons, like learn all of the good vocal techniques. I think that's awesome. It's just it wasn't for me. So
I'm only asking that because your voice is insane. Like
thank
I was,
you.
I was showing my mates earlier the La La Land cover that I'm going to touch briefly on later, but the Mia and Sebastian's theme, like it's just that's what I introduced me to your music. It was on.
Cool.
I really like that film. It's a great film.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
One of the best
great
films.
film. Justin Hurwitz, best
Yep.
composer ever.
Yep.
And I think I searched up Mia and Sebastian's theme because I like hearing covers of it. And there was a playlist, and it was like the 7 accents of Mia and Sebastian's theme. And I'd go through, and there was like a robot version, which didn't do the same justice as the original. And then Sarah Joy, Mia and Sebastian's theme. I was like, oh, okay, wow. I was like, whoa. Replayed it a couple times. It's crazy good.
So that's an example of a cover that I actually loved doing.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Good.
yes, absolutely.
Good. What can you name some of the covers you didn't enjoy doing?
Didn't enjoy?
Yeah.
Was that one from? Oh my God, I'm blanking. Just so your listeners know, I'm going off of like 4 hours of sleep every night because I just had a baby. Okay, so I'm not usually this like.
We can cut the gap so it doesn't.
Okay,
we can cut anything. It's fine.
What is it called? It was from the greatest. It was from the Greatest Showman.
Rewrite
the Stars. Yeah,
not a fan of that.
Not a super huge fan of that one. A bunch of the covers that I didn't like, honestly, I kind of deleted those from YouTube, so you can't even find them anymore. Yeah, but the ones that I did love, like the classics, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, all of those older ones, like I absolutely love, and I have no regrets doing. So
out of the singing and the cello, what do you prefer doing the most? What do you find the most enjoyment out of?
Well, having gone through so much training with the cello, I'm always going to be critiquing and finding problems and thinking of I can do better. But with the voice, it's like I didn't really have that pressure. So the voice is much more enjoyable. But of course, cello, it's like I feel like I'm always going to be able to express more with the cello because of all of the time and practice put into it.
Yeah. And now I might be wrong, but you also play the bass. You're learning to play the piano.
Yeah.
So you're already putting me to shame by like quadruple the amount of instruments that I can play, and just like shoving it. Like it's just incredibly talented. Is there any other instruments, or is there any other things that you would want to learn?
I'd really, really like to have a better understanding of percussion, drums,
really?
like that kind of thing. So maybe not, because I don't think I'm ever going to be able to actually play it. I have a little box drum that I mess around with, but just to like have a good enough understanding that I can do electronic kind of drum sounds, which I've experienced at the recent album that I released.
Music journals,
I've started trying with that, and I haven't gotten any negative feedback.
Oh, no, it's good. I like it.
I don't know. Well, thank you.
I like the blend. It's because I think it was like I had one of your classical covers on, and then I had it on shuffle, and then I can't remember the song. There was one. There was one song that came on, and it was like a massive like change. It was like it was a mix of everything. So what kind of pushed you to move away from the classical and move more into a modern perspective?
So that's what's funny. I've actually been writing and recording in that style for years and
Really?
years and years and years, but I haven't really had the courage to post it.
Mm.
And so I'm finally starting to be more vulnerable with that.
Experiment.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
come you hadn't been recording and releasing that?
Um, well, I don't know. I mean, I want your listeners to decide for themselves, but I don't know if it's weird or not. It means something to me and I enjoy writing it, but
Mm.
I haven't heard a lot of other stuff out there like it. I think the closest maybe like I look up to Sufjan Stevens a lot.
Oh yeah.
Um, Andrew Bird, I really like their music. Kaja Bonet, just some inspirations, but I don't know. I haven't really heard anything specifically like mine.
You should just go for it. Just go for it. I think my last guest, he's a producer, and I don't know, I haven't heard any of like the music that he does with anyone else. He kind of like mixes soul and like house music. So
Mm.
like he'll mix. It's a weird combination, but it works because it's like 90 like a blues song mixed with like just beat and electric
Ooh,
drums, and it's like yeah,
that sounds
yeah.
awesome.
And that's what,
That's
like
awesome.
the songs that you do with the electric drums, it works. Like it adds that
Cool.
extra something, you know. I think you should go
Okay.
for it. I think you should
Well,
just
no,
jump
that's
right
actually
in.
that's actually really encouraging. Thank you.
No worries, no worries. I'm just an encouraging person, I guess.
I'll
But
take it.
when did the bass and the piano come into the mix?
Piano.
Piano
It's
was
so
recent, wasn't it?
well, okay. I grew up with a piano in the house. I would like play around with it. And I mean, a lot of my songs, if you listen to my recordings that I posted 10 years ago, like I
Yeah,
have the piano. So I've been playing
yeah.
piano for my whole life. But if you ask me to sit down and read music, I'm just an absolute fraud. Like I can't call myself a pianist.
I like seeing where the fingers go and like the numbers. That's me. I'm not into
Yeah.
the symbols.
Yeah. I mean, I read cello. That's what's so wild to me. Sit down, sight read anything on the cello, no problem. But then when you ask me to read two clefs at the same
Mm.
time and move both hands at the same time while reading, I'm
No,
like,
just no.
you're kidding. What is this? I can't do this. Who does this? I don't
Yeah,
understand how anybody does
it
it.
is crazy. Like
Yeah.
I thought maybe learning, a guitar, like an entry kind of thing, would give me a foot into the door with piano. But no, piano is crazy difficult.
No.
And
I
then
know. I mean,
yeah, it's
yeah.
baffling.
Yeah. It is. I wish I had started on piano and then transitioned, but yeah.
I just saw the piano in the background as well.
Yeah.
You've got a whole orchestra in your room.
I know. That's what the people said when they dropped off the piano. They were like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy." Yeah, no, I actually this was my mom's. This is the piano I grew up with, and she just
Oh,
gave it to me.
really?
So I've never had a piano in my house before, and I'm so happy. This happened last week.
Mm,
I'm thrilled. But
wow. So going back to like not the start, but when you were learning the cello, were you kind of seeking feedback from your friends, or were you kind of more isolated and you were keeping it to yourself?
no, it was very so okay, I live in kind of a small town. And my grandfather uh he was a professor here in town and everybody knew him and my
Yeah.
parents and my mom, she was a music teacher, so she was the one that would host the recitals. And so basically I grew up in kind of a very like small town public
Mm, yeah.
environment.
Yeah.
Um and like I don't know, not I was kind of a big fish in a small pond basically.
Mm.
Yeah.
So now that you kind of have all of those instruments and there's so many, you've got a whole repertoire of instruments. Is it difficult to kind of go between the two, or do you find it difficult to kind of like keep your mind focused on the piano? Because I can imagine being like classically trained in the cello
Yeah.
makes it difficult to then just jump straight to, I don't know, the violin, if that makes sense, or
Yeah.
the bass. Do you have trouble doing that?
Between the cello and the electric bass, yes, actually
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah, it's weird. It's
Hmm.
weird how much it messes you up because the tuning is different. The cello is tuned in fifths, the electric bass is tuned in fourths, and so yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm able to do it. It's just took a while to get used to, for sure.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And with the covers that you've done, on average, how long does it take you to kind of do a cover? Like you find a song that you want to do. Actually, how do you find the songs that you want to kind of cover? Is it, I know you've said that some of them are just kind of, I don't know, they're,
Throwaway.
yeah, throwaway kind of thing. But like when are you watching a movie and you hear a song, or how does it come around with the ones that you want to do?
Yeah, just anything that actually. Okay, so I guess I should say this. This is gonna make me sound like a bad musician, but I don't generally like music.
Really?
I really don't. And so it takes a lot for me to fall in love with a song or a
Mm,
musician, for one reason or another. Like the lyrics have to be really, really great, like
mm,
Sufjan Stevens, or like classical elements, like with Andrew Bird. He
yeah.
has really like fun moments with
Mm,
contrapuntal stuff happening.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, and that's kind of why I gravitated towards the classics,
Yeah.
because they're like back during that time of when they were written, the culture was so much more heavily influenced by classical music that enough of it bled through so that I can really appreciate it. But
Yeah.
a lot of songs today, I can't get into. Billie Eilish has some cool stuff, but yeah, I can't. I just
Really?
I just don't like I don't
That's
like all
fair
the
enough.
music.
I think that's
I
fair
don't
enough.
know.
I mean, yeah, yeah, that's good. That is fair enough. I think the I get what you're saying with the lyrics, because some artists that I've listened to, they have really cool like arrangement of instruments,
Yeah,
and then their lyrics are just like,
trash.
yeah, I don't understand. Like there was a song that I saw on TikTok the other day. I think it was Conan Gray. And it was something about the bourgeoisie, but it just constantly said bourgeoisie, and I was like you have like a really nice beat, you have a nice drums, and you have a melody, and then
Mm.
you're kind of just overriding it. Like it's just ruining it. Like, you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
So when you're creating a cover, how long roughly does it take you?
Mm, I mean, okay, whenever I was first starting out on YouTube, so what was this, like 9 years ago, 8 years, I can't remember. I challenged myself to try to put one out every single week. So I
Yeah,
would probably get one done in a week. But again, like 80% of them were garbage and I've deleted them since. But it's just a few that are okay that I've left up.
that
But
is, yeah,
honestly, I think that's kind of how creativity works or how it
yeah,
should work. You just
absolutely,
like constantly
yeah,
pump it out and then,
yeah. So when right, I'm going to touch back on me and Sebastian's theme now. Were you aware of the music before you watched the movie, or did you kind of discover them at the
Um,
same time?
well, I watched the movie as soon as it came out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then, yeah, it's
Just fell
just,
in love.
oh, so good.
It
So good.
is amazing. So with me and Sebastian's theme, how with because in your song, instead of playing the cello, playing the main it's you're using your voice. So how did that decision come about? Was it like just a natural instinct, or was it kind of like an active decision?
Just playing around with the song. I
Yeah,
just, yeah, just playing
just
around with it.
tinkering.
Yeah.
Does that happen a lot with your music? Is it
Mm,
kind of trial and error when are you moving between instruments to try and find that sound?
yeah. So in terms of covers, I didn't want them all to sound the same. I didn't want it to sound formulaic. So yeah, I would try to like change it up from the last one.
Yeah.
In terms of like actually starting from original ideas, my dad would always teach me because he's a composer,
Mm.
to start from different places. So like for one project, maybe start with the bass line. For
Yeah.
another, start with the more rhythmic aspect of it. For another, start with the harmonic progression
Mm.
or your lyrics, but always start from a different point.
Yeah.
Because it will develop differently if you do that, and that keeps things fresh.
Absolutely. I think that is a great way to look at it. And that is something that some of the artists that I've spoke to have said as well. They kind of don't tackle it from like a certain set point, if that makes sense. Like they're not sticking to the script. I think that's a
Yeah.
good way of putting of like labeling it. But with La La Land, Justin Hurwitz, I don't know how I said Hurwitz,
Mm.
amazing. Do you enjoy those soundtracks more where they're kind of built up orchestras and they're kind of heavy on that kind of thing, or do you not kind of pay attention to it?
Honestly, I don't really care. so long as the line is
Yeah.
a powerful line,
Yeah.
and we have some interesting,
Mm.
stuff going
Moments.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, then it doesn't really matter. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I know I keep talking about Sufjan Stevens, but I mean, he like his textures, they're bizarre sometimes.
Mm.
But yeah, anyways, yeah.
Fair enough. So when do you perform live?
I used to a lot. Not so much anymore, just because I did move back to
Yeah.
smaller towns, so there's not as many opportunities. I have been asked to travel and perform, and maybe this is something you can actually help me with. Because I've been trying to figure this out for a long time. Because I'm kind of a one-person show,
Mm.
but a lot of my music is heavily layered, and I
Yeah.
kind of rely on the layers. But it's not cyclical, so I can't use a looping pedal. I've been trying to figure out how to put together like a really full sounding live show. Because what I used to do is I would just sit down, piano, sing
Yeah.
with piano, and that would be my show. But yeah, I don't know. Do
I
you have any
think
ideas?
so. Obviously, a guitar and like a drum is good for a loop pedal. I think you could build up a set in the background. But like people like Ed Sheeran, they're like
Yeah,
touring at the moment. They're like, I mean, he plays just on the guitar, but he'll layer live. But I think it kind of just depends on what you're labeling your concert as, and if you're transparent with the notion that you're going to watch me create music in front of you, if that's what you wanted to do.
sure.
I think the audience, I don't think they can complain if you've said that that's what you're going to do. But I think like kind of create. I don't know what people put music on to create backing tracks. But maybe create like a simple kind of backing track, maybe with whatever instrument you don't really want to play live. I don't know if it's like create like a electric drum track in the background.
So that wouldn't come off as being like,
No,
hey,
not
like
at all. No.
karaoke, like mosh pit karaoke.
I think I think so I saw a really cool live performance. I was watching Advanced Joy live. His support act, she was a girl called Steph Strings, and she had detuned her guitar, crazy weird, like weird tuning, not like dadgad, not like a standard tuning for a guitar. She'd laid it on a lap, and she started like strumming it, and it was insane. Like it was crazy. She was like, I can't do it, but she'd bang on the fret, and then she'd like tap with each finger, and
Oh,
then
okay,
like
yeah,
create
yeah.
like an absolute. Like, it was
Oh,
crazy,
that's so
and
cool.
she had like a harmonica around her neck, and she was
Oh
like
my
playing
gosh.
that as well while
Dude,
singing. I was like, hold up,
the skill.
yeah. I was like, okay, and then it was just like I don't think if you're labeling your concert as I don't know, watch me play whatever. I think if you're transparent in the fact that that's what you're going to be doing,
Hmm.
I don't that's fine. Like, and there's loads of artists that have a backing track, or you could have oh, who was it? Jacob Slade, who I had on a couple weeks ago. I know that he's self-produced all of his music. He's independent. Obviously, it's not like cello and yeah. I don't think he plays. Yeah, he doesn't play cello and like violin, but he plays in his music. There's piano, guitar.
Nice.
I'm sure there's drums as well. But what he'll do, I think he's part of the Wisconsin music scene. So I feel like he's got like a load of connections. But his live shows are his music, but he'll hire. I don't know if he hires them or their friends, but he'll have people play that kind of part of his song, if that makes sense.
Right, right,
So
right.
maybe that's an avenue to take.
Yeah,
I think it would work.
yeah, yeah,
It would
yeah.
definitely work. I think if I would play the cello live just because you're amazing at it.
Oh, thanks.
But I think definitely it would definitely work.
Okay. Okay,
Definitely
cool. Okay. Well, I'll keep thinking about it. Cool,
good.
cool.
Do you have you played live? What instruments were you playing live to begin with?
Just piano on well,
Just
and
piano?
I would bring my cello. It's really, really hard to play the
Mm,
cello and sing at the same time, but I would
yeah,
do it. I would do it, but it was always like, oh
it's
gosh,
yeah.
I hope this goes well.
Did you enjoy playing live?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Were you traveling around Texas, or were you kind of all over the place?
I would travel around Texas for like classical stuff, like
Yeah.
play little orchestras here and there. And then I think the majority of my live stuff, it was in Lubbock. I did in Dallas occasionally, or like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It was pretty localized. And then I got onto the online scene, and
Yeah.
that's been,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's crazy powerful.
I know,
Um,
I know, and I like having more control over the product
mm,
for sure. But yeah.
exactly. When you were performing live, was it in like little, I don't know, not yeah, little orchestras? Were you with other people, or is it kind of just solo stuff?
So they were little like local orchestras that you're
Yeah.
just part of the section with. But in terms of like just me,
Yeah.
yeah, you would play in like restaurants,
Mm.
or I opened for a musical one time at like an
Oh,
amphitheater,
really?
stuff like that. But
That's
yeah,
sick.
just a bunch of little things here
Yeah.
and there.
Yeah. That's nice. I'm gonna just like, it's gonna go out left field. But I know you've got a partnership with Halliday Music.
Mhm.
How did that come about?
They just found me. They found me through
Oh,
YouTube.
really?
I think it was YouTube. I think. And then yeah, at first I was really hesitant because you always hear horror stories about like signing with
Mm.
certain people and it doesn't work out very well.
Yeah.
But they've been amazing. They've been really awesome.
Mm. And I know that you are the host of the Classical Music History podcast that I just found yesterday. I thought, as I saw on your Instagram, I thought it was like you were a guest, but nope, full host. It was actually very interesting. Very interesting. I was like, oh, the Baroque era. Nice. I didn't know that. But how are you finding the podcast hosting? Is it something you've always thought about?
So this was actually just a one season kind of deal. I might do
Mm.
more later, but it was more of just like a single lecture series that I was going to put out.
Yeah.
Um, it was really good because it was a motivator to help me brush up on my music history for
Yeah.
sure. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's always a little bit intimidating, right? Because it's not like
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's like there could be a professor of music history
Yeah.
watching this. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I'm like 99.9% sure all of my facts are right, but feel free to check.
Had you been involved in music education before that?
Yes. So I've taught privately since I was a teenager. I would get like little students here and there. And
Yeah.
then whenever I was living in Lubbock, Texas, I would go around to the different schools and I would teach cello sectionals and private lessons. And it's like your
Yeah.
standard
Yeah.
your standard
Yeah.
teacher gig.
Had musical history been something that you were always interested in as well?
I've always just enjoyed history because I like having some context.
Yeah. History's great. History
Yeah,
is amazing.
yeah.
And when you're listening to an arrangement or like a composition, let's say from Ravel, or someone back in the Baroque era, look, see the knowledge coming through.
Good job.
What is it that you listen out for, which kind of signifies a great piece?
Oh gosh. I would probably say the development of the original idea.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and that can take form in unique textures, right? I think that that's what the Impressionists, that's kind of their whole deal, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it's fun being able to trace that idea back from the Baroque period, which is what, Bach was master of, is taking these as like a seed of an idea and just rotating it and morphing it and to create this complex composition. I think maybe that's the deal. It's like when you hear that, it's like whenever you stick a key in a lock and it just clicks and you feel it
Yeah.
open. It's like that happens in your brain.
Mm,
It's like that little
mm,
and it's like but you can trace that all throughout music history. And I think some
yeah.
of the best composers are able to do that while still pushing forward the boundaries in these other areas like texture, different harmonic
Yeah.
progression and breaking rules and all of that. Yeah.
Now, I might not know the piece, but if you were to have your favorite piece of all time, like I don't know, forever, what would it be?
You can't ask me that. Oh, okay, hold on.
What are some honorable mentions?
Okay, honorable mentions. The ones that I'm like listening to right now, currently. Let me actually, because I want to find the artist who performs it. It was performed a long time ago, but one second. Let me look this up real quick.
I'll look up some of my I'll look up my classical playlist.
Good. You know what? I don't know if I can. Oh, where did she go? Anyways, well, the piece is Claire de Lune, but by Foray. It's not the other one.
Oh, really?
Claire de Lune by Foray, and it is. Oh, I don't know why it gets me, but that one's just gorgeous.
I mean, there is just something about classical music. I don't. It's not like jazz, and I am a lover of jazz, but it's kind of like not many people. It's a very niche thing nowadays. Like, especially maybe not 50 years ago, but now not many people listen to it. If that makes sense.
Sad. It's so sad.
I know, right? They're beautiful. But I think Claire de Lune is like A tier, best of the best. Whoever does it, I think you can't really go wrong.
No.
You know what I mean? Like it's just a beautiful piece, and it's like you don't have to have the words to imagine what's going on. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I want to clarify though, just to make sure. So this is a completely different piece that I'm talking about.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which the other one, gorgeous. But this one is completely different. It has a vocalist.
Okay, I'm gonna search.
Yeah. Listen to Foray's Claire de Lune. Completely different.
Okay. I'm gonna. How do you spell Foray?
So Faure.
Claire de Lune. Gabrielle?
Yeah.
4. Okay. I'll add it to the I'll add it to liked songs. I'll listen to it later. Beautiful.
Okay, you'll love it. Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
And I also know that you had mentions on like major social platforms like BuzzFeed, Classic FM. How did that feel when you kind of got that, when you kind of heard that you were getting that kind of traction?
Good. Again, it's kind of like a bittersweet kind of thing because it was nice, and it's my own fault for being too afraid to post what I really, really wanted to. But yeah, I was like, oh, I'm glad people like it, but I feel like it's not. They're not liking me for what I really wish they would like me for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that does make sense.
Yeah.
Do you kind of get maybe not troubled, but when you have your like Rewrite the Stars, beautiful cover, like it's not that, but when you're making your own music, do you feel like kind of takes away from your own music a little bit?
Yeah.
And
and especially like as you get older, you realize time is just so it's so short, and you know.
That's I mean, I think that's a standard kind of reaction to that kind of thing, because you have like, I can remember there's just like musicians on TikTok, and they're most like, they'd be making their own music, but then the covers would be getting the most traction.
Right. Yeah,
and that's like, it's heartbreaking to see, because like they're especially when their music is like beautiful, like the music that they create is great, and then it's the covers. But I guess it's a blessing in the way, because you're still kind of getting traction, if that makes sense.
Right.
But yeah, I think it still sucks, you know. But
oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking like it definitely like at least at this point I'm sticking to my convictions, and I know that my numbers are probably going to go down because of it, but at the end of the day, it's like, man, I really want people to hear my music, but it's like, if you have a specific impetus, something that you just really got to get out there, I'm just not willing to compromise anymore. So I know that it'll probably mess with my numbers, but I just can't care anymore.
That's fair enough. That's amazing. I think that's probably one of the most genuine things that I've heard for a long time. I think that it's a good thing to kind of think about. And I think that's when music, you can hear that it sounds genuine, and
I
that,
hope so.
yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you were to release, maybe I don't know when your next release would be, but when it does get released, I think you'll be able to hear it. Maybe
Mhm.
the it feels like you're enjoying it. You can definitely hear it in some of the songs that I've listened to, where you've enjoyed. Like I think it's quite, maybe not natural, but when you're enjoying the song, you're gonna try harder to make it better, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's gonna sound better. So I don't think your numbers will go down. I have faith that
Well,
they're
thank
gonna
you.
skyrocket.
Again, so encouraging. Such an encouraging person. Thank you.
But moving, so we touched on the mini orchestras and the kind of the live setting. Do you find it easier to kind of play individually?
It's definitely just a different experience. I think, you know what I think my favorite thing is though is the small chamber groups. So
Oh yeah,
quartet settings. I love doing that.
really?
Oh, it's just so much fun.
In a quartet, how what kind of instruments will be there?
Well, there are different arrangements that you can have. So like there are piano trios, just regular string trios.
Mm.
But I think I'm trying to think of my favorite. Well, okay, so sorry, I'm getting off track. Standard
No,
string.
no, just keep going. There's no track on this. There's no script. Keep going.
Well, to answer your question, the standard string quartet is two violins, one viola, and one cello.
Wow.
And so we have a friend in town. My dad plays violin, my mom plays viola, and then our friend plays viola as well. But my mom switches over to violin because she can do both. So that's our two violinists, viola,
That's
and
the
then
talent in the
play the cello.
family right there. Just
Well, apparently switching between the two is actually like a lot of viola. It's surprising how many violists start out as violinists and then they switch.
really.
Yeah, I didn't
Wait,
know that.
what's a viola? What?
It's like
Right, I'm gonna.
it's a slightly it's a big violin.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm sure the violists out there are like, there's way
Is
more
it? Is
difference than that.
it? I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna remind myself what a viola looks like, because I feel like I've heard the name. Oh
It's
yeah,
like a
yeah,
big violin. Yeah.
yeah.
And the best violas I've been told sound like cellos. So
Really?
yeah. I mean violas, oh, poor things. They get made fun of so much because they're like, you're not a violinist, you're not a cellist. What are you? You're the middle child. Like who cares about you?
Yeah, God. But if you were to kind of meddle with a quartet setting, would you kind of switch an instrument out for another instrument? What if you were to make your like quartet? Would you stick to the classic, or would you kind of mess around with it a bit?
I mean, if I were to choose, I would just stick with the traditional because there's so much
Mm,
repertoire and you don't have
yeah,
to like, mess with it. It's just there's a huge, huge
yeah,
repertoire dating back from forever. So
yeah.
yeah.
It's fair enough.
Yep. Yep.
Now, last question.
Mhm.
You've spoken about being genuine with your music. Where do you see yourself going next? And I know you said you want to carry on with what you were doing with the music journal and kind of what the music that was coming out of that was like. Because you have a plethora of talent, and it's really nice to hear. But what do you see yourself kind of going for next?
Well, some areas that I want to grow in. I want to learn a lot more about actual music production. I've always just kind of focused on the like music side of
Yeah,
things. But I'd really like to become better at that, at mixing my own music, because I don't want to have to rely on anybody else.
yeah,
Um, and then of course, the writing aspect, like the lyrical aspect of it, poetry, and I think I'm getting better. I think I am. I'm
mm,
hopefully always improving, but yeah, and just like um, getting even more refined in my ideas, which I think hopefully, like what you said about whenever you kind of remove the distractions of things that don't matter as much to you, like you will be able to
yeah,
be genuine and focus, and you can hear the excitement in the music. So I hope that that's the direction that I'm heading in. I just want to take time with every project
yeah,
so I know it's exactly what I want.
yeah. Do you write for like enjoyment? Is that something that you've kind of been doing?
I mean, yeah, my own music, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I would say that. And it's probably gonna sound like, yeah, obviously, but like I said in the producer that I was speaking to the other week, but apparently YouTube is like crazy good for music production. Like he was like, I've spoken to a few people that said, oh yeah, I mix my own things. YouTube is great. And then I was like, oh right, because I guess you'll kind of like hit. Apparently there's like golden nuggets. Like there'll be like a video with like 5 views. This guy has like 7 subscribers, and it's the most like easiest tutorial on music production that there is, I guess. So if I'll send you some of the links to
That'd be
the
awesome.
websites. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you so much for sitting down with me today and
Yeah, of
talking about
course.
your music. It was
Fun.
been an absolute treat. If any of the listeners haven't heard of the classical music history podcast, and they want to brush up on their classical music, I definitely suggest going to listen to that because it's really interesting. And obviously go and listen to Sarah as well, because like I said, amazing talent, just amazing. So thank you so much, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries. Thank you everyone for listening. And I'll see you in the next episode.